Welcome to this video that will guide you through the application of your product. To strengthen or extend your natural nails, it's crucial for good durability that the nail shape is built correctly. Imagine the nail as a bridge. If the bridge can withstand the weight it needs to drive over, then it needs strong points to support it. Same applies to the nail, otherwise it'll break a bit or the product will come off the nail quickly. To get a full rundown of the theory behind nail construction, it's a good idea to read the section in the theory book about construction. But to summarize it briefly, there are 3 rules of thumb that are particularly important. First of all, the nail needs to be shaped so that it has a smooth curve from cuticle to tip. And the top point of this arch, it's called the apex, and that's what you call the nail's strong point. Apex makes sure that it can handle all the everyday bumps, hits and strains without breaking. So it's crucial to focus on creating a good arch with the apex, ensuring nail strength. Secondly, it's important to focus on filing the undersides of the nail, those lower arches, to file them straight so they can support the nail and withstand shocks. The undersides of the nail must not be brittle, they must also not have a bend, point upwards or point downwards. File horizontally with natural nail for optimal balance. Also, evenly place product across entire nail for best results. It's crucial to file in this manner for the ultimate outcome. There shouldn't be a collection of products on one side but not on the right side. And there shouldn't be a bunch of product on the tip of the nail but not so much on the actual nail bed. As a general guideline, there should be a minimum of 1 millimeter of product over the entire nail to ensure a balanced build-up. And of course there should be a little more there, where the apex is and forms the arch. So please be extra careful to make sure there is enough on the sides of the nail, because that's usually where you end up making the nail too thin. That causes the nail to break, typically where the natural nail separates from the skin and becomes a free edge. To avoid that, it's crucial for a good outcome that you're careful to follow our instructions and make an effort to perform all steps accurately and diligently. If unsure or need guidance, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help you along the way. Enjoy yourself to the fullest. The first thing we need to do when extending with Polydialogue on classic tips is to find the right size tips. It's really important that the tips fit perfectly to your nails and don't put pressure on them or pull on the natural nail shape. So the way we find the right sizes of tips is, of course, by starting with opening our box of tips and then actually trying to make an educated guess about which one will fit best. I am going to make an attempt to find a tip that fits perfectly on my index finger at this moment. So I will put it on my finger and check if it fits well and feels comfortable. And at first glance, one might be able to convince a management team to consider that this tip, that will fit well, but what you can observe is that the curve of the tip here is significantly more curved than the curve on my natural nail. And that signifies that when I apply the tip, it will generate pressure on the sides of my own natural nail bed. Although this tip potentially could work, because on one hand and on the other hand it does not go beyond my own nail edge, it will exert pressure on my nail plate, which may have negative consequences and could potentially lead to damage or discomfort over time. So I am going to attempt a tip that is one size bigger. Previously, I experimented with tip number 9, so at this moment, I am experimenting with tip number 8. The 8th tip here actually appears much more aesthetically pleasing. In an effort to illustrate the appearance of the C-curve, it becomes evident that the C-curve at the tip of the artificial nail aligns more seamlessly with the C-curve on my own natural nail, providing a much improved fit and overall aesthetic. That is the reason why I would state that this tip fits much better. If we also simply check it out on the sides, you can observe that it goes a tiny bit further out than my very own natural nail does. Nevertheless, the quantity is negligible, thus I can effortlessly utilize my manual file to file a tiny fraction from the side, making a minor adjustment without any difficulty. The most crucial aspect to consider here is that you should never exert extra pressure on your nail. It will also appear highly unnatural if you have a tip that is too small in comparison to the size of your own natural nail. In the spirit of fun, let's give it a try with a size that is one size larger than the original. So I've actually scored a 7 here, so you can see that the tip here is way too big. It fits perfectly and complements the natural C-curve of my own nail, creating a seamless and beautiful look. However, the size of it is incredibly disproportionate when compared to the width of my own nail. So it is actually a number that is too large. It will not be helpful. Even if I attempted to file the edges, it will still appear disproportionate in comparison to my natural nail. So it's like really important, you know, that you try it out and figure out exactly like what size tip fits your nails, you know? So you must examine how the nail appears in comparison to the X-ray image, and you must observe how the nail looks from one side and from the other side in order to make a comprehensive assessment of its condition. You should also consider how the tip looks in relation to the proportions of your nail and finger. So now I'm going to try to find the right size tips for all 5 nails. I can now do an efficient prep before I glue the tips on. If you want to see how to do an efficient prep, you can look it up in the theory book under the section about prep, or check out our video guide on prep. Now we are going to apply our tips using tip glue adhesive. The only thing you really need to do is take some glue and apply a very, very thin layer inside the tip. Apply the adhesive solely to the small indentation at the tip, making sure the glue is confined to this tiny area and does not spread beyond as instructed. It dries relatively quickly, so when you've just applied the tip, you should go ahead and put it on the nail. It is of utmost importance when placing the tip on this surface to ensure that there are no air bubbles that get trapped underneath the tip and compromise the desired outcome. Air bubbles will indeed create these small pockets where bacteria and dirt have the opportunity to settle and accumulate over time. Certainly we would truly prefer to steer clear of that, so ensure it fits extremely snugly. We actually just do it on all of the nose. Once the tips are applied, you can move on to the next step. Now it's time to adjust the length, shape, and transition. The first thing you do is to take your wire cutters and clip the length of your tips. It's important that you use a nail punch instead of a regular nail saw, because the nail punch has a shape that matches the nail or tip, and that ensures that the plastic, the tip here, doesn't turn white and deformed. Once we have cut the length, we can file the tips into the desired shape. We do that with a manual file, the 180 grit file. I enjoy using the 180 PG. Once you have shaped the nail, it is a good idea to take a 100-180 grit buffer and carefully file the edges and corners of the nail. This will help to achieve a smooth and polished finish, giving your nails a professional look. Take your time and be gentle to avoid any damage. After you've filed the shape, it's time to file the transition of the tip. And by transition, we mean the transition that you can see here from the tip to the natural nail. You can file it down with a manual file. We recommend the 180 side of the 180 grit nail file. I do quite enjoy utilizing an electric nail file. And in this instance, I am employing a sanding roller with a grit size of 320. You simply make use of that for extremely light turns and only utilize files on the tip for added precision and control. You definitely shouldn't hit the natural nail at any point, but only file on top of the actual tip so the transition looks nicer. You have submitted the transitions, and now we simply need to tidy them up by using some cleaner or cleaning agent. You could also grab a microwave meal if you want. We're now going to apply base coat to all of our nails, and we also need to apply base coat on the tips. The crucial aspect when applying base coat is to only apply it in a very thin layer. So I simply wipe the brush off the edges of the bottle and just take a tiny little bit of product. So I place it in the middle of the nail, close to the cuticle, and in gentle movements I distribute it up against the cuticle, certainly without any physical contact being made with the skin surface. We just do it on all the nails. After applying base coat, it must cure in lamp for a minute. When the base coat has cured, there will be a tacky layer on the surface, like a sticky film. It is completely normal, it must not be removed. It takes time for the next layer to adhere more effectively to the base coat. Ready to proceed to the next step. Before we start building the nail with Polygel, we just need to prep our brush. We do that by dipping the brush bristles in cleaner and simply wipe it off on both sides. After that, make sure to dry it off completely using a lint-free wipe to avoid any residue or streaks on the surface. The brush is now ready to use. When we are constructing the nail using Polygel, we take a small amount, pearl made out of Polygel. You have the option to attempt to determine the optimal method for calculating the quantity required to fill and cover the entire nail. If you take insufficient or excessive amount, you can always revisit and include additional or eliminate something. However, we can make an effort to do our utmost to observe and understand. How much do I think it takes? I place the bead on my nail, then I take it. And I immerse my brush in a cleaning solution and swiftly wipe it off with a wipe that is free of lint. Subsequently, I commence the process by shifting my blob of Polygel in a downward direction towards the region surrounding the cuticle, ensuring a precise application and seamless integration. Certainly, I'd be delighted to ensure a beautiful and seamless transition to the natural nails, maximizing their appearance and maintaining their integrity. That is not alpha, omega, or ultra necessary, that it becomes perfect when you shape it. Since we also need to consider the case that comes after, where we ensure that the structure is perfected and any small dents and flaws are eliminated in order to achieve the desired outcome and make sure everything is in perfect condition. So the most important thing is that you get enough product all over the place and that you do your best to create the foundation for the most optimal form of construction. In the event that your Polygel starts to get sticky, you can simply dip your brush back into the cleaner, and then it is ready to work with the Polygel again, ensuring a seamless application and a professional finish every time you use it. In this specific instance, it is quite apparent that I may have slightly exaggerated the situation at hand. Therefore, my preferred course of action is to delicately take my brush and gently dab it back towards the apex, which is the precise point that signifies the utmost strength in the structure of the nail. What is the highest point of this arc, which 9 should ideally have at the conclusion in order to maintain their strength? Due to its thick consistency, Polygel is not highly effective in self-leveling, which can lead to the formation of bumps on the surface. The viscosity of Polygel hinders its ability to evenly distribute, resulting in unevenness and imperfections on the treated area. No worries, we'll remove it later, so you don't need to stress. Once you are reasonably content with your shape, you can proceed to working on the next set of nails in the process. I would highly recommend, or it's definitely a good idea, to give these nails a flash cure in our lamp before continuing to work on them. It is merely barely the number 1. Flash Cure is a program that swiftly hardens the surface in a mere 10 seconds, making the gel or Polygel stick effectively and securely. Not necessary, but if you happen to, while working on the other 4 nails, accidentally bump into or touch it, then it will lose shape again. To ensure it stays, give it a nudge, Otherwise, proceed with the rest of the nails to make sure they stay in place. If you get too close to the skin or accidentally hit the skin with some polygel, it's also super easy to grab a thorn and just remove it from the skin again. When you feel the shape is as desired, cure for a minute under the lamp. Currently, my nail has been hardened for a duration of 60 seconds, and as a result, it has become hard. Therefore, we can now proceed to the next step in our process. We are about to start filing the shape to perfect the structure, but before that, we need to clean the sticky layer, so grab a doctor's stick with cleaner. I simply apply cleaner to my wipe that leaves no streaks and wipe more thoroughly for a more effective cleaning experience. When the nail is free from hangnails, we need to start filing the shape. You can do that with a manual file, for example, our 180 grit nail file. You can also combine both a manual nail file and an electric nail file. A manual nail file is generally highly proficient at carrying out the groundwork, at filing these lower arches, commonly referred to as the sides of the nail. However, the electric nail file is great for removing larger amounts of product. Prior to filing my nails, I'll quickly get our largest collector to prevent dust from spreading everywhere. But what I'm about to do in a little while is actually just making sure to file my nails so that we get this beautiful rounded arch that the nail's strong points require. And then we also get apex to step forward. And of course, that way we can create exactly the shape we want on the nail. I have currently filed the shape in order to have successfully achieved the apex and made the strength points of the nails stand out. I am content with the current length of my nails and the overall look they have. I feel happy about how my nails are and how they appear in general. So the final thing I need to do at this moment is to clean using a cleaner in order to ensure that we are fully prepared to apply the gel polish colors. We are now ready to move on to the next step. We're about to apply gel polish to our extensions now. Before we apply gel polish, we just need to mix the color pigments. They can actually sink to the bottom. We do that by shaking the bottle between two hands. The reason we shake the bottle or roll the bottle between two hands instead of shaking it is because air bubbles can form if you shake it. Certainly, we prefer to prevent that from happening. Therefore, once you have blended the color, it is essential to utilize the gel polish by applying it in relatively thin layers. So I'll just scrape the bristles off on the inside of the bottle. So I take a little gem of product onto my brush. Position it in the center of the nail, slightly above the cuticle for precise and balanced placement. I apply a gentle pressure with my brush, causing the bristles to spread out and create a light, even coverage. And then, in fact, I proceed to race the gel polish color up against the cuticle, ensuring a thorough application and precise finish. As close as I am able to get without making any contact with the cuticle, ensuring that I do not hit or come into contact with it in any way. Right down the middle. And remember to finally seal the free edge. You don't need to seal the edge when dealing with an extension because the natural fold doesn't meet the product, but it simply looks much nicer. And you also have color on the tip of the fold, so it's always a good idea to seal the free edge anyway. Furthermore, it is a valuable tip to ensure the correct positioning of the brush when applying color. Instead of having the brush like a T on top of the nail, where you actually just end up scraping off the color, hold it horizontally with the nail so that you float the color on the surface of the nail for a smoother application. It simply provides a significantly more pleasant layer. In the event that you accidentally hit the skin, you have the option to grab a rose stick or, for example, our microwipe sticks with some cleaner and just remove what has come off to the side, ensuring a clean surface. Of course, it's important to do everything you can to try to avoid it. If you get something on your skin, this is a really good help to get it off right away. If you desire to attain a closer application of your gel polish color to the cuticle area, but are encountering some difficulty using the brush that is included in the bottle, you have the alternative of employing an art brush, which is a highly thin brush. This will enable you to delicately push the color a little further up towards the cuticle without running the risk of unintentionally touching the skin. It's also really important that you apply these layers very thinly. If the color isn't fully opaque from the first coat, it's no big deal. It should be fully covered with a second coat. A good rule of thumb is that if it flows into the cuticle or moves from where you placed it, then you've applied too thick of a layer. Apply thin layers, that way you'll get the best result. Now I'll continue the same procedure on the remaining 4 nails. Once happy with first gel polish coat, just 1 minute under lamp for final result. When the first coat is under the lamp for a minute, there will be a tacky layer of color, like a sticky layer. It's normal, and it must not be removed. It ensures the next layer can stick properly. You're ready to move on. Now we are going to apply a second coat of gel polish, and we do it in exactly the same manner and technique as we applied the first coat. To apply, I scrape the brush on the edge of the bottle, collect a small bead of the product, and place it in the middle of the nail near the cuticle. Then, I gently push the color down towards the cuticle, ensuring I don't make contact. This technique ensures precise application without any accidental touching of the cuticle, resulting in a flawless manicure every time. So I brush outwards in opposite directions to both sides. I am sailing along the free edge. And make certain that the complete nail surface is uniformly covered with gel polish, ensuring an even and flawless application. I perform the same action with the remaining 4 nails. When pleased with second coat, they just need a min under lamp. When the second coat is in the lamp for a min, it also has a sticky layer, indicating it's still wet. That must not be removed. We can proceed to the next step. Now we are going to apply the top coat for the final touch. Our top coat is no wipe, which means that it doesn't have a sticky layer after it is cured in the lamp. Therefore, you do not need to wipe afterwards. That is the reason why it is called a no wipe. The final coat simply needs to be applied in the same manner as we previously applied both of our color coats for a flawless finish. We are positioning ourselves as near to the cuticle as we can, without actually touching the cuticle, to ensure accuracy and prevent any unintended contact. Ensure there is top coat applied all over the entire nail surface, and also seal the free edge with the top coat to provide added protection. The top coat functions as a protective layer for the color. Both individuals have a preference for that, so there will not be any discoloration, and so there will not be any scratches, and like that, it always appears completely shiny, sparkling, and nice. Therefore, it is crucial that there is a layer of top coat applied evenly to the entire surface, ensuring that all 5 nails receive the necessary treatment. After applying top coat to all nails, it just needs a minute under the lamp. When they have had a minute under the lamp, as I mentioned, there is no sticky layer on the top coat because it is a no-wipe formula. So they're ready for the next step right away. The last thing we need to do is wash our hands. I have already been outside and washed my hands, and then we are going to apply some nail oil. For proper nail care, it is recommended to apply nail oil in both the areas around the cuticles and underneath the nail bed. It is of utmost importance to apply nail oil as it greatly helps to contribute to the overall health and strength of the nails. You can imagine that the nail is a bit like a branch. If it's completely dry, it breaks super easily. However, if the material contains a significant amount of moisture, it will easily deform instead of breaking when attempting to snap it. The same principle applies to the nail, and it is therefore crucial that you consistently ensure to use oil and generally maintain proper care of your nails at all times. It's also nice to end your nail treatment with a good hand massage. We've now done an extension with Polygel on tips, and the nails look like this.